Karen thought she could turn my private property into her own HOA playground, throwing an unauthorized police picnic right in my front yard without my permission. Armed with nothing but a clipboard and delusions of power, she truly believed she could rewrite reality and force me to follow the rules of her imaginary HOA. But she didn't expect me to have a wild card up my sleeve, or rather, four-legged enforcers ready to reclaim their turf. And when the cops finally saw through her lies, it was Karen, not me, who found herself escorted off the property in total humiliation. But wait until you hear the most satisfying twist of all. I don't know what I was expecting when I stepped out onto my porch that morning. Maybe the usual, a peaceful yard, birds chirping, my coffee steaming in my hand. The quiet, familiar sight of my fenced, emphasis on fenced, private property. Maybe my neighbor, Todd, walking his yappy little chihuahua that hates me for absolutely no reason. Maybe the mailman pretending not to see me while chucking my packages into the bushes. You know, the normal suburban routine. What I was not expecting was a full-blown, unauthorized festival taking place on my damn lawn. The second my foot hit the porch, my brain short-circuited. I froze mid-step, blinking at the absolute circus that had replaced my front yard. My grip tightened around my coffee mug as my eyes darted from one outrageous detail to another. Folding tables were scattered across the grass, covered in checkered tablecloths, like this was a damn summer picnic. Platters of food sat open in the sun, flies circling what looked like Costco potato salad and those sad grocery store sandwich trays. Near my driveway, a massive BBQ grill belched out smoke, dangerously close to my rose bushes, which I had spent weeks trimming, by the way, while some dude in a Blue Lives Matter apron flipped burgers like he paid taxes on this property. And if that wasn't surreal enough, there was a full-sized, inflatable bounce house taking up my entire driveway. Yeah, my driveway. I blinked at it, half expecting my sleep-deprived brain to correct my vision. But nope, there it was, swaying slightly in the breeze, kids bouncing around inside like they had free season passes to my front yard. What the actual hell was I looking at? It felt like I had walked onto the set of some alternate reality sitcom where my house had been magically turned into a community park overnight. And the people. Oh God, the people. They were everywhere. Middle-aged couples in pastel polos and boat shoes, holding plastic cups of lemonade like this was some kind of country club brunch. Moms in matching yoga sets, chatting near my mailbox, gossiping between bites of suspicious-looking deviled eggs. A group of off-duty cops leaned against my garage, laughing, cracking open sodas, and acting like they owned the damn place. One of them even pointed at my truck, saying something to his buddy while nodding in approval, like he was evaluating a used car he was about to lowball me on. It was so absurd, so violently wrong, that for a second, I just stood there, coffee cooling in my hand, trying to process the sheer insanity of what I was seeing. And then it clicked. There was only one person insane enough to pull something like this off. Karen, not just any Karen, the Karen. The self-appointed, self-righteous, entitled suburban dictator who had been terrorizing the street for years with her fake, absolutely non-existent HOA. The woman who had tried to fine me for not power washing my driveway. The woman who had threatened to tow my car from my own damn garage. The woman who once put a letter in my mailbox telling me my fence was not the approved shade of white, as if my property was a damn gated community in Beverly Hills and not a single-family home that I legally owned. And there she was, smack dab in the center of my yard, clipboard in hand, barking orders like she was directing an Oscar-winning film. She gestured grandly toward the bounce house, like it was a monument to her own self-importance. She waved a hand at the tables of food, nodding approvingly at the spread of stolen land and stolen sandwiches. She was in her element. For a second, I just watched her, mouth slightly open, still processing. And then, like a demon sensing fresh blood, Karen turned, spotted me standing there, and locked eyes with me. Her face morphed instantly into that tight, fake-ass smile, the kind designed to infuriate normal people. "Oh, you're finally awake," she chirped, voice dripping with condescension, like I had just slept through my own eviction, like this wasn't my property, like I was the intruder here. I took a deep, slow breath, my grip tightening around my coffee mug. She had gone too far this time. See, this wasn't Karen's first stunt. This woman had been waging a one-woman war on my existence ever since she moved to the neighborhood. The self-appointed queen of a completely fictional HOA, she had spent the last few years treating my property like her personal battleground. It started with the paint fiasco. One afternoon, I found a passive-aggressive letter taped to my door, written in the most aggressively polite font possible. Dear homeowner, it has come to our attention that your house color does not meet the approved aesthetic guidelines of our HOA. Please repaint your home in one of the acceptable shades of eggshell, ivory, or soft beige by the end of the month to avoid penalties. Now, I could have ignored it. I could have crumpled it up and moved on with my life. But no, I sent her a polite response of my own, by painting my mailbox a blinding neon orange, just to see if she'd have an aneurysm. Then there was the towing incident. I woke up one morning to find a tow truck idling in my driveway, the driver standing next to my car looking just as confused as I was. Ma'am, he had said, scratching his head, I got a report that this vehicle is parked illegally. In my own driveway? Yeah, some lady said it was a violation of HOA policy. Karen. This woman had called a tow truck on a car that was parked on the property it legally belonged to, and when I confronted her about it, she hit me with the classic, rules are rules, rules, of her imaginary HOA, and don't even get me started on the great dog ban of 2023. Karen, in her infinite wisdom, had actually called a neighborhood meeting, which, mind you, only she attended, to propose a ban on loud dog breeds, and by loud, she meant mine. The next day, she slipped another passive-aggressive letter into my mailbox. To preserve the peaceful nature of our beloved HOA community, certain breeds that exceed an acceptable decibel range should be prohibited. As a homeowner, please be advised that your compliance is expected. Karen was out here writing legislation like she was a senator for the homeowner nation. But this? Throwing an unauthorized police picnic on my private property. This wasn't annoying. This wasn't a nuisance. This was a declaration of war. I slammed my coffee down on the porch railing, took a deep breath, and stormed down the steps, my pulse pounding in my ears. My yard was crawling with people, strangers who had no idea they were trespassing. But she knew, and that's why I beelined straight for her. Karen was in her element, clipboard in hand, surveying the chaos like a Roman emperor overseeing the gladiators. What the hell is this, Karen? I asked, my voice low, controlled, but carrying the kind of weight that made people rethink their life choices. She didn't even flinch, didn't even look guilty. Instead, she scoffed, an actual, full-bodied scoff, and waved her clipboard like it was some kind of holy decree. This, she said, gesturing broadly to the nightmare carnival happening on my lawn, is an HOA-sponsored community appreciation event for our brave officers. It's for a good cause, and you should be honored to host it. Honored. She said it like she was doing me a favor, like I should be grateful that she had graced my land with her presence and a bounce house I didn't order. I looked around. These cops had no clue they were standing on illegally occupied property. Some of them even waved at me, like I was a guest at my own housewarming party. I turned back to Karen, my jaw so tight I could probably crush diamonds. You do realize I don't live in an HOA, right? I said, each word measured, like I was talking to a particularly slow child. Karen sighed dramatically, in the way only someone deeply delusional could. You should be part of it, she said, as if I was the crazy one. It's a technicality, really. I've taken the liberty of including your property in our jurisdiction. I stared at her, momentarily speechless. She had literally annexed my land into her fantasy HOA like some suburban dictator, redrawing the map of my own damn neighborhood. I was trying, really trying, to remain calm. But then she sealed her fate. With a smirk, she cocked her head and delivered the final insult. Besides, she added, her voice dripping with condescension, you're welcome to stay if you behave. Oh, hell no. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't waste another breath trying to reason with a woman who thought she could annex my damn property like some HOA Napoleon. I just turned, wordlessly, and marched straight to my backyard. Because if Karen thought she could just waltz onto my land, turn it into her personal HOA festival, and expect me to stand there and take it, she was dead wrong. I moved with purpose, boots crunching against the grass, every muscle in my body tense with fury. The chatter, the laughter, the god-awful sound of someone playing acoustic guitar near the lemonade stand. It all faded into white noise as I reached my back gate. I whistled. Twice. And unlatched the lock. Then came the sound I had been waiting for, the thunder of paws. Now, let me clarify something. My dogs, they're not aggressive. They've never bitten anyone, never lunged at a soul. But they are big, fast, and very protective of their home. And the moment they saw a crowd of strangers trampling their territory, eating, drinking, bouncing in their yard like they owned the place, their instincts kicked in. They exploded out of the gate like a furry SWAT team, barking loud enough to rattle the damn ground. And then, chaos. Absolute, unfiltered chaos. Karen shrieked, the sound so high-pitched I think only bats could hear it. A woman in a flowery sundress shrieked right along with her, then leaped onto a folding table like she was avoiding lava. One of the off-duty cops, who had been enjoying a nice cold beer stolen from my fridge, by the way, fumbled the bottle so hard it spilled all over his uniform, making him look like he had just lost a drinking contest with gravity. People ran. People screamed. Some dude in boat shoes tripped over a lawn chair, face planting directly into a platter of deviled eggs. Another guy knocked over the lemonade stand, sending a tidal wave of sugary disaster all over someone's cargo shorts. And the bounce house, that poor doomed bounce house, someone must have hit the wrong corner because the whole inflatable monstrosity tipped sideways, trapping a panicked kid inside like a deflating marshmallow. And Karen? Oh, Karen ran straight for the cops. "Do something," she screeched, her clipboard flapping wildly as she pointed at my dogs like they were unleashed demons from the underworld. One of the officers, who just minutes ago had been happily enjoying my stolen barbecue, looked at her like she had just suggested robbing a bank with a spoon. He took a step back, away from Karen, away from the insanity. And then, in the most casual, completely over this shit tone imaginable, he said, "This is his property, Karen." Beat of silence. "You're trespassing." And just like that, her entire empire crumbled. The second the word trespassing was spoken, everything shifted. It was instant, like a spell had been broken, like reality had suddenly snapped into focus for everyone standing there. A couple of the more seasoned officers, probably the ones with enough street smarts to recognize when they were knee-deep in someone else's bullshit, had already figured it out. But now, the rest of them? Now they started looking around. Not just at me, not just at Karen, at everything. The folding tables cluttering my lawn, the half-crushed bounce house taking up my driveway, the BBQ grill still billowing smoke like a failed NASA launch. They looked at the way Karen was standing there, clipboard clenched in her hands like it was a damn constitution, and they realized they had been played. And Karen? Oh, she wasn't ready to let go of her delusion just yet. "You don't understand," she shrieked, her voice hitting a frequency that could shatter glass. She gripped that clipboard like a lifeline, her eyes wild with desperation. "I'm the HOA president. I make the rules." One of the cops, a guy who looked like he had seen enough Karens to last a lifetime, just sighed and rubbed his temples like he was fighting off the world's worst headache. "Ma'am," he said, slow and deliberate, like he was explaining basic math to a toddler. "You're not an HOA president. This isn't an HOA." The words hit her like a truck, but you could see her brain refusing to accept it. I, on the other hand, was having the time of my life. I crossed my arms, leaning back just a little, savoring every single second of Karen's very public meltdown. "You lied to the police," I said, my voice calm, measured, letting the weight of the words sink in. "You held an event on private property without permission." I tilted my head just a little. "And now you want the police to arrest the homeowner?" Silence. Pure, golden silence. Karen's face went through every shade of denial before finally settling on a color best described as expired deli ham. And then the cherry on top. One of the officers, a guy who had been suspiciously quiet up until this point, reached into his pocket and pulled out a notepad. He flipped it open with the slow, practiced efficiency of a man who had been waiting for an excuse to write someone up all day. "Sir," he said sad, turning to me, "would you like to press charges?" "Oh, oh." I took my sweet, sweet time pretending to think about it. I tapped my chin, shifted my weight, let the moment drag out just long enough for Karen to start physically vibrating with panic, and then, with a grin so wide it could have been illegal in several states, I said, "Oh, absolutely." Karen let out a noise that wasn't quite human, some mix between a screech, a gasp, and a malfunctioning car alarm. She tried, desperately tried, to argue, waving her clipboard like it was a legal document instead of a piece of paper filled with delusions and bad handwriting. But the cops, they were done. Two of them grabbed her by the arms and started escorting her off my property, while the rest of the picnic attendees scattered like roaches when the kitchen light flips on. Gone. All of them. By the time the sun started setting, my yard was empty. The bounce house was a half-deflated corpse in my driveway. The BBQ grill was still smoking, abandoned like a crime scene. My dogs were lounging in the grass, looking smug as hell, and Karen, oh, Karen was facing legal trouble. But the best part? She still had to come back later to pick up her damn bounce house.